and welcome all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there. Welcome to another rendition of NXTilosos, the sexiest NXT review show here on the BC WrestlePod network. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, and of course, joining me this week, as always, is my other half here at NXT, or my other third, if you will, in Papa Oso. We're both trying not to die in this heat.
Yeah.
If you want to see the After Dark special where we play Strint Roker, you need to tune into the Patreon.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
it ain't that
Trust
hot.
me. But in all seriousness, if you want to support us, please go to the Patreon so we can put some stuff on there, but that is okay. But we are missing our third Macho Rodriguez, who was supposed to be here tonight, but then the thing called work called him back in. He is in the nicest way possible. I mean, these things happen, but he was more pressed than a panini when he got called back in. He's like, ain't this a mess? I was like, I get it. It's fine. I get the hint. You just don't like us no more. No, I'm just kidding. So hopefully Macho will be back next week. So fingers crossed. But we are here to review another episode of NXT. I'm going to be so honest. I enjoyed the episode, but this episode definitely was, hey, we're in the middle towards building. We're going to kind of be setting up some stuff here. So bear with us. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be so for real. This was there's things coming down the pipeline episode. And I was just like, okay, this isn't bad. But, this is not the NXT that, I gush to people about. But it wasn't too bad. There were some things, though, I have questions about. We're going to get to those when we get there. And I was just like, a little bit, just a little bit. We also go off on tangents. We talk about a whole plethora of other things. So if you just like to watch people have conversations about wrestling on a weekly basis, then we are the right fit for you. However, we understand that time is a construct and it may not be available to you. So if you can't commit to watching a full-length review on Twitch or YouTube, you can still get the same information, but in a more digestible way through our social medias at BC WrestlePod, pretty much every social media site that you could think of. And you could see our clips that summarize the major talking points that we have throughout each episode. We also do report cards for all the weekly shows that summarize our results and our thoughts about the weekly TV shows and all. We also have some merchandise, and which I will be linking in the description below, in the comment section, chat section, wherever you want to call it. So we have some really fun merchandise. We have merch for all of our review teams here at BC WrestlePod, as well as the special summer collection, our Pride 2025 collection, and our collection that is going to have proceeds donated to help fight off against what is going on in this country right now with, government overlords overstepping bounds, especially in the states where Latin populations are being taken. Without getting demonetized, y'all know where we're going with this. So please go ahead and get yourself something nice. But with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into NXT because I have thoughts on everything. So again, we find ourselves let me see if I did the math correctly in my notes section. Yep, just needed to make sure. We are currently 2 weeks away from NXT's Great American Bash. So that is the next big pay-per-view for NXT. So in 2 weeks, on Saturday, July 12th, it is the NXT's The Great American Bash taking place in Atlanta, Georgia. So once again, we find ourselves not only building to Great American Bash, but we also have the double duty, at least when it comes to our women's division. They're also building up towards a match happening at the pay-per-view Evolution 2, which is an all-women's pay-per-view for WWE. If you watch the WWE show, while we are excited about Evolution, this counter-programming nonsense of throwing pay-per-views against other companies is crazy. And WWE is kind of in the losing effort, as we said, because we were going to do Saturday Night Main Event watch-along, but because of Gunther versus Goldberg being an actual match that is happening, we decided to switch over to AEW's All In Texas. But I'm still going to be watching NXT because NXT's pay-per-view is in the morning, so I will be watching that, and so will Will. But yeah, we kind of find ourselves we're in the middle of the building blocks of everything, so things are kind of taking shape. I will say this is probably the slowest build that we've had towards pay-per-view, because usually we get like 2 or 3 matches made officially, but we're really waiting until the go-home show to finalize everything that we can, which is kind of nuts. So let's just jump straight into it. So it's crazy. We're talking about NXT, but the first thing that we're going to discuss is our TNA World Championship match. Yeah, this is a sentence that I have said in 2025. So our TNA World Champion, NXT's Trick Williams. Yes, that is a sentence if you are just joining us in the NXT verse. This is World Heavyweight Champion Trick Williams defending his title against Josh Briggs. So this match was made last week after Yoshiki Inamura in a six-man tag team match with Josh and TNA's Elijah taking on TNA's AJ Francis, NXT's Wesley, and our TNA World Champion in Trick Williams. So Yoshiki Inamura pinned Trick in the match last week, but instead of taking the match for himself, he wanted to give Josh an opportunity, so he gave his opportunity to Josh, and thus that is this match of why it is made. Hi, Nick. Happy to have you in the chat supporting us. Yes, Will and I are here to talk about the NXT and the weird builds that we are getting to for Great American Bash and Evolution. I am going to be very surprised. Spoiler alert, Trick retains the championship as I figure he would. I was very surprised to see that Trick actually won this. I was waiting for more first class shenanigans to come out as we have seen. Surprisingly, though, Trick has beat Josh cleanly, which is kind of on the other hand, I was like, you've been building this first class and Trick Williams like relationship, and now is when you're gonna pick for Trick to win on his own. I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine. I mean, Will, we talked about this since Trick has won this title since Battleground and his multiple appearances on NXT and TNA. I feel like we are just having him defend this thing so he can get some reps in. Gonna be so for real. I legit now I'm 100% for sure thinking that he gonna lose at Slammiversary, especially with the tea that I had that I'm gonna share in a little bit. Nick, that is a good question. Is Trick legit a heel now? Technically, yes, but we don't like the direction that he's heading. We have so Nick, you might disagree with us here, but me and Will have talked at verbatim that when it comes to Trick's heel, we like that he is now leaning into the heel, but we both agree that we missed a couple of the developmental steps to get to this level of cockiness, which I think we're kind of fast forwarding his TNA championship run because ultimately we think he's going to lose that Slammiversary, but I digress. Match is fine. I mean, was just to get another defense in, so that is okay. Will, what did you think about this match? And then we're going to both talk about what happened afterwards.
I mean, it was all right. Again, it's not a match that I think needed to happen, but I will say that I really the more and more I see him working, the more and more I'm really enjoying watching Josh Briggs wrestle. And it's like, okay, so they're trying to make him out to be like the bad dude, which is cool. And I think that's neat. I think that's good for Josh Briggs. I thought it was kind of a throwaway. And I don't know, maybe that's what they're doing with Trick, trying to get him some street cred, just trying to get a few wins under his belt before he loses it. But I mean, because we all know that's coming. I don't know. I didn't hate the match. I just didn't really know. I didn't understand the purpose of it. That was my truly. I just give me a story here. I mean, why? Other than just I want to go against you for the belt. Is that it? I mean, is that truly it? Because I really think that Josh has a legit build. I think he's been building. He's been rediscovering himself, reinventing himself. And excuse me, and I just don't feel like this was a legitimate thing.
No. And here's the thing. So Nick, to catch you up in all of this too. So this is where this is Trick's trajectory since the beginning of this year in January. So beginning of the year, Trick was still NXT champion, men's championship less. So he had he had 3 chances so far this year to take the title from Obafemi, whether it was one-on-one or in a triple threat with Eddie Thorpe, who was also running around that scene towards the beginning of the year. So Trick had 3 chances to win that championship. He could not get it done. And so then we moved Trick away from Oba, and he had a small feud with Eddie Thorpe, which, started to get from Trick being tied this whiny baby face, leaning into being a whiny heel. And then him and Eddie actually had a pretty okay feud, which was like 2 matches in which Trick ultimately won. Then he became whiny again because he wanted another shot at the NXT championship. Oba was like, no. So then we had Trick go after Joe Hendry and TNA because he was popping in after WrestleMania as well, which kind of started that Trick and Joe Hendry feud, Trick began popping up over at TNA, messing with Joe Hendry. He popped over at TNA Rebellion back in April by beating up Joe Hendry after the main event of that pay-per-view. Joe Hendry will return the favor. These two would be going back and forth, messing each other up on their respected shows. Santino and Marella, the director of authority of TNA, and Ava, our GM of NXT, decided that enough was enough. So the TNA championship was put on the line at NXT's Battleground over Memorial Day weekend. Trick ended up winning, and now he's gone from whiny heel to cocky heel within the span of like a week. And I was just like, sir, you barely won this championship. So I don't know what we're talking about. And this is what we've been saying, Nick. Will and I have been saying this. Trick, I think, is ready to head to the main roster. And yes, we agree. To me, this also reads we don't have creative for Trick right now. And it kind of sucks because you're building up Josh to be this powerhouse, which NXT needs right now because Obafemi is really the only powerhouse champion you have. And so we need to start building up other big boys here in NXT. And so again, this is all play now. So let's just talk about what happened afterwards, because afterwards, Joe Hendry's music hits. Trick is ready. Joe Hendry gets him from behind, attacks Trick. Trick escapes with the championship. So it hasn't been officially confirmed on this weekly episode of TNA because we will get that announcement on tomorrow's episode. But TNA broke the news that Joe Hendry has enacted his rematch clause. So he is getting his rematch against Trick Williams for the TNA World Championship at Slammiversary, which I was just like, cool. However, where I think is going to be the interesting thing is last week on TNA, we had Mike Santana call his shot too for the TNA championship because he wants to get his hands on First Class after First Class messed up Mike Santana's shot at the TNA championship against Trick on NXT a couple of weeks ago. So I think we get a street fight between him and AJ Francis, which I'm assuming Mike is probably going to win. But Mike has made it well known he wants his match. He wants the chance at that championship because First Class messed it up for him. So I would not be surprised if this becomes a triple threat. And I'm going to be honest, I love Joe. I would love to see him get this title back. However, I am on the Mike Santana train right now, and I want to see Mike hold this championship. I think Mike should be holding this thing on, and Leon Slater should win the X Division Championship. Tune in Friday for our thoughts on TNA. But yeah, it's really hard because we're balancing these multitude of storylines in two different companies, and it's kind of getting messy. So I think Trick drops the title. He needs to go to main roster. Nick, with the unpopular opinion, just bring Trick up to the main to help out Mello. Let them both get over on their own in the tag division and then work their way up. I mean, yeah, because Mello's also struggling on the main roster right now because he is also not really doing a lot right now, which is not fun. Yeah. Yeah, Kilt, things are messy in this story we're telling with Trick being TNA champion. So we get a rematch between Joe Hendry and Trick Williams at Slammiversary later in the show. Because Trick Williams is running scared, he asks the High Rise, which is Wesley, and the tag team of, Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe to kind of handle Joe Hendry next week because Joe and Wes are going to have a match. We'll see how that goes. But overall, we're kind of over it. I'd like to take a moment of silence in this episode because we were all subjected once again to Lexus King's paint on beard. Anyways, so in this little segment, we have Miles Bourne talking to some NFL players, I'm assuming, and Lexus King coming in to try to talk to these NFL players, and Lexus King playing up the fact that Miles is partially deaf, and Miles is like, I can hear you. We all can hear you. I'm just choosing to ignore you and your painted on beard, Lexus. Nobody needs to see that. Essentially, this little backstage segment is the setup that we are getting Miles and Lexus next week. Yeah, well, we were subjected to this horrible paint on beard once again. And I'm just like, I don't want to see it no more. Like, nah, we survived this week. I was like, no more. No more. This was just to set up a match that's going to happen next week between these two. So we shall move on. Charlie's getting on my nerves right now. And I'm going to tell you why. So in this backstage segment, we get the remainder of No Quarter Catch Crew, where the camera pans into a TikTok video of Tavion getting some sort of work done, like a chipped tooth, a broken nose, something like that. And Tavion is just like, listen, Charlie, you know what? You did this on purpose. Like, we went too crazy during training and you broke myself. You broke my face in it because you know that I'm gonna beat you and I'm gonna go out on my own. And I was like, you go, Tavion. You talk your mess. Poor Ren, man. She's just like trying to hold everybody together. I'm like, baby girl, you need to let it go. Like, it is time to let everybody go fly. You and Charlie can still be a thing, but I think Tavion needs to be on his own. Miles has flown the coop. Tavion needs to do the same thing. Spoiler alert, that doesn't happen tonight, but I hope it does eventually. Charlie Dempsey, possessive is not a good look because he is so confident that he's gonna keep Tavion in no quarter catch crew. I'm like, ew. I was like, ew, I don't like this at all. So this is a prelude to set up what we are gonna get later in the evening, where Tavion is gonna be taking on Javon. If Tavion could beat Javon Evans, then he will be able to leave no quarter catch crew, just like Miles did after beating Charlie Dempsey in a rounds match. Spoiler alert, that does not happen. I will say though, outside of the main event, this was also one of my other favorite matches of the entire night. Javon Evans versus Tavion Height. I hated the mask thing, not gonna lie. It was kind of dumb. It wasn't even a regular like facial mask to protect somebody who is like protecting face injury. It just looked like I was like, what in the chocolate bane is this? Like, what is happening? But I digress. Yo, this match went ham though.
It did.
Javon flying everywhere, on throwing Javon everywhere. These two are, and Will, you said something in our conversation earlier today too. I was like, I didn't think of them as a tag team, but I want to see a Javon and Tavion tag team. They would tear it up. Oh, this match was so good. So good. Will, what did you think about this match?
I thought it was amazing, actually. They're actually two of my favorite wrestlers right now. And it was really exciting to watch them wrestle together. And that's when I was like, holy crap, they would make a great tag team. I mean, really, with sort of Tavion's like strength and Javon's just bounciness, man, they could be unstoppable.
Oh,
I loved it
absolutely.
though.
Yeah, this match ruled so much. I think this match highlighted both Tavion and Javon's strength. Javon is Javon to me is NXT's version, and I take this as a compliment. If we truly get a TNA and NXT's Worlds Collide, Javon is the Leon Slater for NXT, in my opinion. Like, he's really good. He's improved so much, and they're both so fairly young. Javon is 20, and I think Leon is 21, 22. So they're barely scratching the surface, which is crazy to think of. And then Tavion is also younger in the 20s as well. So I'm like, yeah, but I need a Javon and versus Leon Slater match like down the line at some point because I think that match would go hard. But unfortunately, we could not keep the celebrations going for long because Javon then gets laid out by our LFG season 1 men's winner in Mr. Jasper Troy. I was just like, we're coming it back because these two have had exchanged words last week on NXT. And so Jasper's just like, I'm gonna just punch Javon. I'm like, no, I'm tired of seeing Javon get punched down. Like, let him have his moments. Like, damn, everybody just I was like, what is it in NXT right now over the last like 2 months? Everybody be killing the vibes. No, everybody don't like the vibe people. Like, what is happening? I'll talk
Mhm.
about you later. Cause I'm like, again? But we'll get there when we get there. This was my P break match. Listen, I love me some Ricky Saints. I do. But this was the P break match. This was Ricky Saints versus Ashanti the Adonis. I will say, truly did love in Ashanti's entrance that he literally had a Venmo barcode on the front of his overalls that you could actually scan to donate money to his which is kind of wild. This is here match because we need a placeholder for it. I was not excited about this match. We already knew Ricky was winning this one because he has bigger fish to fry and all ego Ethan Page, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. It was fine. Ricky is fine. Was fine in this match. Ashanti was okay. Like, it for me personally, even if I know the how do I put this? Even if I know what the outcome is going to be, I could still enjoy a match. I was just not feeling this match between these two because this was just here to have it on TV, and it ends to the mean specifically more for Ricky. I'm like, it was fine.
Honestly, it was a waste of time. They could have put something far better in this spot or put him against somebody that makes sense.
Like, honest, I'm gonna be so for real. Like, because of what happened last week, we could have had Ricky go up against one of the members of the Vanity Project from Evolve because now they're hanging out with All Ego Ethan Page. So have Ricky fight, one of the members of the Vanity Project. So, but Ricky wins, but he cannot celebrate once again for long because All Ego Ethan Page comes in and beats up Ricky Saints. These two do get into a brawl, but ultimately All Ego Ethan Page stands on top of this by the end of this segment. And I'm just like, look, will the match be pretty good? Yes, because I really enjoyed their match at Stand and Deliver, but I'm ready for this feud to close. I'm like, I need both of them to move on to different opponents at this point because we've been fighting since April. And Ethan hasn't really had too many defenses of his championship. The last time was at Worlds Collide against Javon, Ray Fenix, and a Laredo Kid at the Worlds Collide event between WWE and so that was at earlier this month too. So it is no secret. I think we are getting this match at a Great American Bash. We're going to talk about Ethan and Ava's segment later in the show, but I'm just like, I'm ready to move on from this match or for this feud.
Oh, I am too. I'm so ready. I mean, literally the minute Ethan came out, I rolled my eyes so hard.
Killed. I was like, it really was. This match was just here. It was there, which sucks. We're going to move on because we're going to talk about you, Ethan, later. I'm going to be so for real. I forgot they existed until we got this. I was just like, y'all made such a big deal about these four tearing up NXT, and we have not seen them in like weeks. Like, is somebody hurt? Did they do something up backstage that made one of the producers upset? Like, why have they not been on television? And to quote Nick earlier, I was just like, we don't have creative for you guys. So I'm just like, I thought we were going somewhere with that. Yeah. It was like,
Sorry, that was my bad. I hit the wrong button.
it was that very same energy. Will's like, we're moving on.
You know,
But
I hate I despise not the individuals, but this is something I cannot stand is when they bring a faction in and then they do nothing with them. It's like, okay, give me a reason to like or dislike these guys. Like as as characters. Right now, I don't give a crap about them because one, like you said, we see them every once in a blue moon. All of a sudden, they get all dark and mysterious and talk about, "Ooh, we're going to come in and destroy things," and then they disappear. Then months
yeah,
later, they pop up again. It's like,
what frustrates me about Dark State is the fact that the reason why this group was put together is because this is basically disgruntled employees, the faction, because these are people that weren't getting a fair shake. They weren't getting the time, but they wanted to disrupt NXT, which I was like, on paper, cool, that sounds fun. But the execution has been lame. Now, I thought we were going somewhere after they had to beat the D'Angelo family at Stand and Deliver. And I was like, ooh, okay, we got this. And then they kind of were wrestling and then they disappeared. I was like, are you planning this luncheon that we about to have? Like, what's the tea? Like this, I guess I love you, NXT, but I get frustrated with you because you just have ideas and then we don't know what to do with them. So then you take them off TV and then they pop up and then I'm like, oh my, I forgot you were here. Still hate the direction we're going in. And then you disappear again. Let's go. We move on so I'm gonna start with this bottom picture first because me like this. Oba Femi gets on the mic. Listen, I have grown to love Oba. I love him as NXT champion. He's fantastic. But I am ready. Like he said in his promo, he has decimated not one but two rosters of two different companies. He has taken out pretty much everybody in NXT. He's taken on and beaten some of the TNA stars. And so, but he wants to be a fighting champion. And so then Yoshiki Inamura comes out and I was like, yes, I am here for this. It gives us something new. Now we're actually getting to see Inamura be involved more because remember, the biggest problem we had with him leading into Stand and Deliver when he came at the beginning of the year, he didn't really wrestle that much. And it wasn't until we were told that he was leaving to head back to Japan and then his reappearance at Battleground that he was back in NXT. And so Inamura's just like, I love NXT. You know, I came here from Japan to learn more about wrestling. I want championship golds. I love the passion here. I love the fans. You are a great champion and I want to fight you. Obafemi's like, you may want to rethink that because I don't know if you're ready. And Inamura's like, I am ready. And I was just like, yes, I am here for this matchup. And then Jasper Troy lays poor Inamura out. And then we get this face off, which leads into a match between Inamura and Jasper Troy. In a number one contendership match, winner will go on to face Obafemi for the championship at Stand. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, I know Jasper is probably going to be built up to be a monster eventually. You know, I'm here for that. We need more monsters in NXT. He had a shot at the championship not too long ago. I want to see somebody new face Oba. And if that's Inamura, then let it be Inamura. but something tells me I don't think that's gonna be the oh, it's so frustrating to me when it happens like this. So here's where so I want to get on my soapbox for a little bit and then we can move on to the next section and then I want to get Will's perspective in a little bit. But here's my biggest issue with NXT right now and this has been my biggest issue overall with WWE in general as of late. I know that WWE product, I have come to learn and understand that long-term storytelling, if you are not Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes or, these big time stars in the company, these feuds and the long-term storytelling do not really exist here, which is fine with me. I've come to accept that. But focusing solely on NXT right now, my biggest issue with NXT is that you want to have especially with Obafemi, you want him to be a dominant champion, which I'm okay with. We need big powerhouses like Oba, Jasper Troy, Josh Briggs. NXT in the men's department needs those big monsters to be built up, which I need. The problem is that Oba has beaten Jasper, he's beaten Josh. Oba has beaten almost every other man on this roster. Wesley, all the bigger men's names on the NXT roster right now, Oba has beaten. He's beaten Trick, Eddie Thorpe, he's beaten some Joe Hendry, TNA stars. Like, he's done all that. And now all you have left, you have Inamura come up to step up, which is cool. But my worry is that it's just a one and done. If Inamura goes on to Great American Bash, he's going to lose. And then, who does he have left to face? Now, then you have Jasper Troy, who, again, I would not mind seeing Oba and Jasper have a rematch because their match for the championship was great. The problem is that you shot yourself in the foot because Jasper challenged for it so soon in his second or third match on NXT, and he lost to Obafemi. So I would be a little upset if Oba loses to Jasper Troy here at Great American Bash because I'm like, he had a chance, he lost, and then you're going to give him the titles for soon. And I'm like, you run out of people to make it credible threats. Unless you bring in somebody crazy, you sign somebody new. Like, honestly, I cannot tell you who should take the title off of Oba. Like, with everybody who is here and who he has beaten, all we have left right now is Jasper and Yoshiki Inamura. And as much as I love Inamura, you have not built enough for him to be like, oh yeah, I can believe him to be a champion. Now, if you're not, but here's the saving grace, and this might be a crazy thought. There is one person, even though he has lost to him, I think there's only one person who has really come close and even looked really strong in defeat to take the title off of Oba. And that is Javon. I think as much as we've seen Oba and Javon go at it before, I think right now, Javon is the only person who has come out in a match against Oba Femi, still looking very strong. And outside of Jasper and Inamura, I think Javon would be the person to take it off of Oba. I'm not even going front. Granted, that's my bias, but I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I've talked a lot, Will. You've heard me just go ramble on about my little soapbox. We know Oba's not losing. At least we hope Oba's not losing this at Great American Bash. Where do we go from there? What is happening?
All I know is it's time for Oba to relinquish. I really do. I really think so. Because right now, and I know why why he's not, because we've said it many, many moons ago. So they painted themselves into a corner. So they're like, oh wait, he's beat everybody. So what do we do? He's in a holding pattern basically, and he's just like, oh hey, look at me, I'm the most amazing thing in the world. And I'm just like, Oba, I love Oba Femi, but he needs to go to main roster. He's main roster ready. He's been ready for main roster for a while. Either he needs to go to main roster or he needs to let his contract run out and go to another company because he's ready to be in the thick of it. I don't know. I mean, as much as I would love to see Javon Evans with it, absolutely. I think he's still too green.
That's fair.
It's it doesn't make logistical sense. I'm not saying that Javon can't defeat Obafemi because I believe that he can. I think it's just too early. I'd rather see Javon fail. Someone else takes the title, and then Javon eventually comes into his own. And he's like, "This is who I am. I'm the man. Now I'm here to take it." Because I think that right now Javon is, first of all, an amazing wrestler. Two, I don't think he has the story for it yet. I think right now it's just, ooh, he's like the teenager that wants to fight everybody. And I don't think he's there yet. I think we need to see a Javon storyline where his eye is on the prize.
Right.
Right now, it's not. I want to defeat you, and I happen to get the title. Yay. But I think it needs to be like, he's like, you know what? It's my time. I'm going after this title.
Uh-huh.
And
100%.
you know what I mean? And I think also, and if he wants to go for a title, then take the one from Ethan Page, or one of
Let him
those
be
other ones.
mid-card champ for a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Hold that belt in your hand and kind of become a champion and then set your eye on the big prize. I think that because I think Javon would be a great champion. I think he would. I think he'd be a great belt holder. I think he'd be great. I just think right now he's just young. He needs a
Yeah,
little
so
bit more maturity behind him.
I agree with that. And again, Jasper and Inamura will be facing off next week. Winner goes to face Oba at Great American Bash. So we shall see what that entails. Backstage, we are fighting for the custody of Tatum Top Paxley. So first, I'm not even gonna lie. If they could put their differences aside, these four would be a crazy faction. Not even gonna lie. So
I agree.
Izzy gifts Tatum a doll, and they're is being friendly and nice to her, and tells her if you to be in her corner for the match. Soul and Zarya come out and they're like, girl, she's playing with you. Tatum seems to be getting closer to Izzy, who then meets with the remainder of her crew. And, Izzy's in the main event for the Eliminator to face JC at Evolution for the NXT Women's Championship. And then the rest of the faction and Sean Spears, and they're like, hey, we have championship goals too. And so Izzy leaves with Tatum to go get ready for what's to come later. I'm just going to keep this brief and short. So I was bummed to hear that Noah is injured yet again. So he had to relinquish the Heritage Cup Championship, which I was like, we just got him back. So Stax was going to face Noam Dar, but now it becomes, Noam Dar's not here. So we just gonna have a fight. Tony D'Angelo gets inserted into this match to fight Stax because why not? So the match itself, I enjoyed it. I figured shenanigans were going to continue to happen. Tony D'Angelo just keeps having the worst of luck because Luca Crucifino keeps accidentally costing, and I put those in air quotes, accidentally costing Tony D'Angelo wins here. So, no spoiler alert, Channing Stax Lorenzo is your new NXT Heritage Cup champion. Cool. I'm not mad at that because I think Stax could be a fun Heritage Cup champion to see what we do with him. I just hate that he is still within the orbit of this whole feud between him and Tony. Tony punches Luca Crucifino afterwards and is like, I'm done with you. I'm like, sir, you've been saying that every single time you blame Luca for something bad going on in these matches. I was like, pulled up. We need to be done with this whole story. I am so over it. I'm over it, Will.
I don't care. I literally am like, oh, it's these two again. Okay. Then I was kind of hoping that neither of them would win the cup.
It ended an entire draw.
I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This whole whatever the hell this it's been drawn out enough. Time to move on. Be done. Tony, I love Tony. I think he's fantastic. And I think he just needs to be like, you know what? Deuces, bitches, and get out. No, seriously, go do better things.
Honestly,
because this is not, whatever this is not elevating him in any way. It makes him look worse every time he loses to Stax.
all the work we built him up with his North American reign, his Heritage Cup reign, and now it's like going down the tubes.
Yeah, and he keeps doing it to himself. I'm like, stop. You know what? Just stop. I don't know what this storyline is, but I'm kind of done with it.
He should have been done and over at Battleground when they fought last time.
That's true. Yeah.
We should have wrapped this up at Battleground, but no. We are going to continue to drag this out for the summer, and I'm not vibing with it.
No, me either.
So we move on because backstage, Ava is pissed at all ego Ethan Page. I'm like, girl, Ava, you get my sympathies because you be dealing with a bunch of these crazy characters running around NXT. So Ava is upset at Ethan for attacking Ricky. And Ethan, of course, playing the cocky heel is just like, well, he put his hands on me. What you expect me to do? And Ava's like, I'm tired of you and I'm tired of Ricky. I like that she blamed both of them. It's like, both of you don't listen. You both decide you want to beat up each other every time you get a chance to guess. So guess what? both of you next week are gonna meet in my office and we're gonna figure this out because I am done with both of you. So Ethan agrees, but then as he leaves, he gets on the phone and he's like, "Hey, Vanity Project, yeah, I'm gonna call that favor in right now." So it seems that we're gonna get Vanity Project, which is Jackson Drake, our WWE Evolve Men's Champion, Zeta Steel, and then the tag team of Swipe Right. So that whole entire Vanity Project might be popping up next week, which is kind of crazy.
Stupid, sad thing about this whole thing is Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, they're basically the same damn person.
They kind of are. I'm not even gonna lie, but one's a heel, one's a face.
Right. But they're the same. So basically, think of it, they're the two sides of the same coin. They're identical in the fact that they're both very sure of themselves, and, it's just that one's evil and one's not. It's like, well, no wonder you guys don't get along with each other. You're the exact same damn person.
It's like the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other.
Yeah. So this is another one I'm ready for it to be done with.
Right. But before Ava can figure all that out and get a moment's reprieve, we go straight into it because we find Hank and Take have gotten beat up backstage. I'm just like, these are another group of people. I was like, y'all ain't doing much with Hank and Take, and it makes me mad. I was just like,
I don't even understand this. Where did this come from?
I was just like, they got attacked. My money is on them. So, but Hank and Take get beat up. Ava is calling for help. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, all right, well, okay. Even though here it looks like she's like laughing.
I know. These pictures I find, man, are kind of crazy, but it is what it is. But I'm just like, it's probably going to set up a tag team championship match at Great American Bash, which I was like, cool and everything. But I was just like, I don't want to use the word lazy, but I'm going to. It's very lazy booking. And I was just like,
oh, it is.
Hank and Tank have barely defended this thing. You've been having them in 6-man tags for whatever reason. I know they've been going up against the Colleen for the last couple of weeks, but even still, I'm like, no, don't do this to the boys. But we'll see what happens with all of that because now we get a preview of what's to come next week. So, of course, number one contender for Obafemi's championship. Winner faces him at Great American Bash. So it's going to be Inamura versus Jasper Troy. We are also getting Wes Lee versus Joe Hendry, which I am excited about. I'm not even going to front. And then I hope Miles be pissed out Alexis King next week. That is all I have to say.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I want Inamura to win. I'm actually excited for Wesley and Joe because I think that's going to be a fun match. And I want Miles to beat up Lexus. So we shall, yeah. I was just like, actually, I'm kind of here for this custody battle with Tate. I'm not even going front. If this leads Izzy to fight for the North American Championship, I am here for all of it. Or if this becomes like an unintentional tag team match, I'm also here for it as well. But
I just love that Zarya is laughing. You can see her laughing.
She is trying so hard, but she cannot contain herself. But yeah, this was easily my match of the night. This match ruled. Everybody did great. Lash Legend looked fantastic. Muscle Mommy Jordan Grace just throwing girls left and right. Jada Parker bouncing up and down the walls. But I have to say, I am really proud of Izzy in this match. I think this is the cleanest and the best that she has looked. And she has come a long way since she debuted that in this company like a year and a half ago. So I am so proud of Izzy. Yeah, but this match was fantastic. Of course, my favorite spot was towards the end where Jordan Grace was the power base of the Tower of Doom spot, throwing all three women from the top turnbuckle onto the mat. Lash Legend and what I love too is Lash was so close to winning this match. She had victory in her grasp, but she did not keep eyes in the back of her head. And Jordan Grace was able to stomp her out of the way to take the victory. Your winner and heading on to Evolution to face JC Jane is Jordan Grace, which I was just like, yes, ma'am. But I also pointed this out to you. This is Jordan's 4th time going after this championship. Can she get the job done? Gosh,
I hope so too, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Jordan Grace is a fantastic champion. She's a fantastic representation of the women's division. I'm not saying like Lash Legend couldn't do it, Jada Parker couldn't do it, but Jordan Grace, she just, and dare I excuse the pun, but she has the grace of what a champion needs to be. She's, confident, but she's a gentlewoman. When I talk about like the gentleman wrestlers, she's like that. She makes, when she was the TNA champion, I mean, I think it was like the golden age of the time period in which I was here for that. I think that was like golden age because when she was for the women's division, because when she was champion, I mean, women's division was popping, and I'm not saying she has to keep it for very long, but I think long enough to put that sort of spin on the women's division here. That idea that, yeah, women are sometimes better than the men. And there just needs to be that sense. And I don't think our women's division has had that idea of what a champion is. Like, I like JC Jane. Don't get me wrong, but when I look at her, I think, badass chick with a belt, but I don't think of her. When I think of the women's division championship in NXT, I don't think Jessie Jane. I don't. And it's, again, that's not nothing to do with her. It's just the character that she's built. And it, to me, is just not it. So I'm really hoping that Jordan Grace can take it from her and kind of bring some gravitas to this title. So yeah, I love it. And I thought Lash was going to win too. I was like, Lash, don't you worry, you'll get your chance, girl. You're muted. Can't hear you.
Love it. I knew that. Not really. No, I want Jordan to take the title from JC, but in the event that she does not, Evolution, my biggest hope is that we need to start building up now with Julia, Stephanie, Roxanne. Like, now that our girls, those girls who've been carrying the division for the last year and a half or so, are now up on main roster. Now it's time to start building up your next main title pool of talent. And to me, that's Soul, Zarya, Lash, Honey, we need these girls to start getting into the main title picture scene. And then in the mid card, I would say Jada, Thea, Tatum, Izzy. There are so many women in this roster. We need to start building up mid card and then your top card, women's division of the pool of women you're going to have in these things. So, but Jordan Grace stares at JC Jane and crew from the bird's nest as NXT goes off the air this week. So again, this was another episode to build towards Great American Bash, and we have our NXT Women's Championship match set for Evolution. So a little bit of programming note for next week. Next Tuesday, the NXT review will still be happening. We will be reviewing NXT and talking about all the craziness that comes with it. However, there will be a little bit of a panel change as I will not be here next Wednesday for NXT, but Will and Macho will be here, as well as tagging in for me will be Adolfo. So Adolfo is going to be running tech for the NXT boys while I am in Ontario, California, watching AEW. I will be going to the AEW Dynamite 300 and AEW Collision 100 tapings in Ontario, California that Wednesday. So I will be out there with Mama Laguillo, which is going to be a lot of fun. But fear not, the NXT and the CMLL reviews will be happening still next week. So hopefully, I will miss you boys, but that is okay because I'm enjoying my summer break. But speaking of which, I should go over what we got remaining for the remainder of this week. So come back here later at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, as the Los Lucha crew are reviewing Fantastica Mania from CMLL. So 9 matches, craziness is going to be fun. Then tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Adolfo and I will be back here once again for MLW Watch Along, this time for Summer of the Beasts, where we are getting some really fun matches. We are getting the MLW debut of Shotzi Blackheart. We are getting CMLL boys of Los Depredadores defending their MLW tag titles against the mystery team. Timo Guerrero is defending his title against Alex Hammerstone, so that's going to be a fun event, as well as a plethora of other things happening at Summer of the Beast, as I said. So y'all heard that correctly. Then on Friday, we are back with the Takedown Troop reviews. We took a break. We took a week break last week because we did a watch along for Fantastica Mania, but we are back in the world of TNA land. What kind of crazy shenanigans have our TNA folks gotten into as we are building towards Slammiversary? So you're going to want to join the 4 of us as we review TNA on Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we wrap things up on Sunday with our WWE review, reviewing this Raw and SmackDown as they are the go-home shows before Night of Champions. Just as a programming note, we will not be having a review for Night of Champions, given the fact that the show is in Saudi Arabia, and we refuse to participate in those, throwing our morals away to cover that. And if anything happens interesting of note on the SmackDown, which is also in Saudi Arabia, we will highlight those, but nothing more. All right, Will and I got to get up on out of here, but thank you so much for tuning in to NXTilos. The crew will be back next week to review another exciting episode of NXT. But that is going to be it for us here. So until next time, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. You'll catch me and Will back here in about an hour and a half or so. But until then, this is Yos. Take care of yourself, love your neighbors, and take care of them in these trying times. And we'll see you for the next review. But until then, ta-ta for.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.